He could be incredibly aggressive when he wanted to be. He was often aggressive toward his dog, which left the poor animal completely terrified of him and humans in general. Because of this, the dog bites a lot. He's 100% an animal abuser. He would often become aggressive toward his so-called friends or neighbors. He'd scream at people, break a bottle, cut himself, and leave the hallway covered in blood. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alaska and I have OCD, along with some pretty wild stories, especially ones about mental health emergencies. Let me share one about a guy I lived with in Colombia. People tend to get bored when mental health hygiene is brought up, but trust me, this story worth it. If I remember, he or someone from his family mentioned that he has bipolar disorder, so keep that in mind as you hear this. First, let me explain how I ended up in this situation. I was living in a hotel in Medellin, but we couldn't afford it anymore, so we had to look for a room to rent. That's when we found this guy on Facebook. At first glance he gave off serious, classic fuckboy vibes, but older, like someone desperately avoiding maturity at all costs. Not very bright kid. His act, he could be incredibly aggressive when he wanted to be. He was often aggressive toward his dog, which left the poor animal completely terrified of him and humans in general. Because of this, the dog bites a lot. He's 100% an animal abuser. He would often become aggressive toward his so-called friends or neighbors. He'd scream at people, break a bottle, cut himself, and leave the hallway covered in blood. He made a habit snorting cocaine off the tablet belonging to his then girlfriend's son. As you probably guess, they aren't together anymore, and he was causing constantly trouble in the building. He'd blast music at full volume all the time, driving everyone crazy. Eventually the residents came together and signed a petition to get him kicked out, and they succeeded.
Hi there, it's Autumn.
This channel is new and creating this content takes courage and bravery.
It means a lot to us if you subscribe to the alternative OCD room.
Wishing you all the best and bless you.
His personality. Overall, he comes across as a two-faced person, the kind who talks behind your back but still shakes your hand. His lack of intelligence is obvious, whether through his speech or his behavior. He had issues with everyone, his friends, girlfriends, family, and every single neighbor in that enormous building. Everyone had problems with him. He hit on every woman he could, even trying to recruit them in adult films because he had friends in the porn industry. These friends would sleep with whoever's girlfriend, which caused tension, shouting, and fights. They had no concept of loyalty. Too stupid to understand such ideas, they made decisions based on pure instinct. He always said the same thing about everyone, that there are no good women, there are no real friends, and that everyone betrays him just to get something from him. Meanwhile, even the prostitutes, drug addicts, and some completely lost people who I'm not even sure what they are doing, even they were fed up with being around him. For instance, whenever I was gone, I'd come back to find him with heroin addicts or prostitutes, or he'd have broken something, doors, windows, the kitchen. Story. He got hospitalized again. His doctor says he got good heart. Good heart my ass. That dumb fuck can kill a person for no reason. He's an animal abuser, but whatever his doctor says. So he ended up in the hospital, but he still had his phone. Meanwhile, I was at the house packing my things to leave. Another guy was also packing his stuff. He'd been sent by his mother, but she hadn't told him that she's taking all of his belongings out of the house because they had been kicked out of the building. It is a huge building and nobody liked this guy. This good-hearted guy was watching us through his phone. He saw us through the camera in his room and watched the guy take the furniture. He called me to say that he was being robbed and that he was going to kill us. He also called the national police, and when they arrived, they asked my passport, which I managed to avoid. Then I quickly left. I didn't have any papers. I have lost them all. He took them. So I could have been in serious trouble. He had completely destroyed the house and wanted me to pay for it, but I refused. His mother seemingly was always running after him. He didn't seem to have a job, although he said he did. He also claimed that his mother had wasted all of their money at the casino. Maybe that was true, but generally he had no clue what he was talking about. Diet. Long story short, his diet is trash. He survives on meat, fast food and junk from the market. Sometimes he won't eat for days, probably because he's a cokehead. Cokeheads are known notoriously as bust balls type of clients. I don't know because I used to be one. On top of that, he drinks Coca-Cola and other sugary garbage. But wait, what else does our hero drink? That's right, you guessed it, he's an alcoholic. Of course he is. Sadly, things start to make a little bit more sense. He drinks every waking minute of his life. He never stops drinking. He has a collection of pills for every occasion, perfect to pair with his drinks. Some of them are the take one and sleep for 3 days kind. Naturally, he'd wash them down with whiskey, like the classy gentleman that he is, and top it off with some overpriced cocaine. Yet somehow, even with those ridiculously strong pills, he never seemed to sleep. Wondering why. His surroundings. Nobody liked him, not even his so-called friends. He surrounded himself with people who had done terrible things, some of whom even freaked him out. There were girls who slept with him to get money for their university, prostitutes, drug addicts, low-lifers, supposed artists, criminals, and other broken people like him. They would steal from him, not just drugs, but money and other things. His mother looked utterly depressed, while his father seemed completely uneducated, coming from some unknown town. His father was a cop, and they would beat the poor animal. It's ironic though, because he considered himself an anarchist, yet had no problem using his father's position in the police to get what he wanted. He would talk positively about cartel leaders, and he was extremely racist, sexist, and xenophobic. There are probably a million more stories I could tell you about him. Maybe I'm coming across as a bit harsh, but I'm not judging him because of his addiction and mental instability. I've had my own struggles with those things. He turned the house into a hostile environment and was trying constantly to get money from me. Sometimes I could feel the atmosphere becoming threatening. For Autumn, her dog, myself, his dog of course. I could list many things about him if the goal was to make you hate him, but the real point is that he was living in a toxic environment with zero mental health hygiene. All he ended up doing was abusing himself, abusing others, abusing animals, wasting money and repeatedly ending up in mental institutions. He was danger to us, to himself, to animals, to his neighbors, and even to a little child that was exposed to his drug use, using his stuff to snort drugs. Cocaine can be toxic enough. Little kids use their fingers to touch the tablet, and they are putting them in their mouth also. So I respect all the bipolar people. He doesn't represent bipolar people, but I could see how he was trapped in between bad habits and toxic environment. Once again, thank you very much for subscribing, watching our videos. Bless you, only the best, and love.